And we're just going to pick up off where we left yesterday. Okay, so at this point in your notes, you should have had a paragraph written, right? Just a short little paragraph. We're going to do the similar thing today, but this time our main focus is going to be the civilization of Sumer. So let's just do the same thing. That way, okay. Main idea, notes, and our summary. If you know at this point what a civilization is, you don't have to write anything here. I know we've talked about it quite a bit, but just a refresher, right? A civilization is when people join together and they develop this complex. Is that too dark for you guys? Are you good? Too dark. Complex societies, right? People are joining together. In a society, you're going to start to see things like art, because there's people who have time on their hands, because we specialize, right? So there's going to be extra time to learn extra things. You're going to see governments. You're going to see religions. Now, from here on out, I'm probably not going to say government. I'm going to use a fancy word, bureaucracy. Okay? Bureaucracy. I like to type it just so I don't spell it wrong. It says bureaucracy. And bureaucracy is just really a government, right? The people who run. Raleigh has a bureaucracy. The United States has a bureaucracy, right? The state of Missouri has a bureaucracy. Sometimes they're called presidents and his cabinet. Sometimes it's the mayor and his staff. Sometimes it's the governor and his staff. So instead of just saying government, I like bureaucracy because I told you people think you're smarter if you use big words. Right? I'm not very smart, so I have to use big words. Okay? Another word I want you to be familiar with, is the word infrastructure. Okay? Infrastructure is just the stuff that it takes for us to live together in a civilization. And what I mean by stuff is, how are we going to get water in? How are we going to get sewage out? How do we get electricity here? Now, Sumer, obviously they don't have electric, but they can't let their sewer back up in their city, right? People would get sick. So they have to have a system to get it out. They have to have a system to get fresh water in. They have to have a system of roads to get around. Now, of course, they don't have cars, right? And at this point, they don't even have horses yet. But they still have pathways and roads to get things to and from various locations. So, infrastructure, bureaucracy. Be very familiar with those words. And if you don't know what they are, you can just write them somewhere on your notes page. So civilizations, they have a bureaucracy, they have infrastructure. Usually you're going to see signs of art. You're going to see religion. You're going to see a thing called class divisions, and I'll explain those in just a minute. Okay? So Sumer, that's going to be our main idea today. We're going to learn all about the civilization of Sumer. We know from archaeological digs and things that historians have found that Sumer, yesterday we know it was the first civilization. Okay? It settled in an area called the Fertile Crescent, which was between the Tigris and the Euphrates River. And someone told us yesterday when we looked at our vocab that they settled there because the land was fertile. Right? You're going to see as we progress in the year, this fertile land in the rivers, it's actually going to flow all into Egypt near the Nile, and it's going to go up to where the Romans are in their river. But today, we're just going to focus on the Sumerian area with the Tigris and the Euphrates. We good? And these are things we've already talked about, right? Near the Persian Gulf in the Fertile Crescent between the Tigris and the Euphrates River, in an area called Mesopotamia, which just means between the rivers. It's the birthplace of civilization. Okay, so I told you a civilization has to have a few things, right? It has to have a bureaucracy, it has to have infrastructure, you're going to see signs of religion, you're going to see art. All civilizations, even today, I would argue, have a social structure. Now, our social structure isn't quite like it used to be. In ancient times, and even when we get into England in the 1600s, you're going to see these social classes. In the United States, we don't have a formal social class, right? But you guys put yourself in social classes. I walk in a cafeteria and I see a table of, not my words, but jocks, right? A table of band geeks, right? A table of book nerds, right? I don't know.
The crazy people.
Oh, is that is it? I don't know. Okay. The nice thing about America is if we don't like what our people perceive us as, number one, you could just not give a care and do your thing, right? Or you could change it. Sumerians couldn't do that. But theirs went beyond band or sports or smart kids, right? Their civilization, their social structure, is often shown in a pyramid fashion. Okay? And at the very top is the king. Underneath the king, you're going to have high priests and nobles. Under nobles and high priests, you're going to have officials, minor priests, scribes. Remember the boys only get to be the scribes, right? I know, so unfair. Underneath them, you're going to have the craftsmen, the people who are putting stuff together that we need. Under the craftsmen, you have your servants, your laborers, your worker bees, right? And your peasants. And look who really doesn't even make a pyramid. Slaves. Big question for you here.
What's the second one say?
High nobles, it's over here. So my question to you is, why do we represent the social class system of Sumer as a pyramid? Or how high they are, yes, but also there's more to it than even that.
And let's say like at the top it's smaller and it gets bigger and bigger.
Yes. You only need one leader, right? You only need one king. Have you ever been at a meeting where everybody tries to be the leader or try to bark people around?
Yeah.
It does not work, does it? Because then nothing gets done because this person wants this and this person wants this.
Unless they
Agree.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There are of like certain subjects.
Yeah, if they would agree with that. And I would argue nothing gets done unless you have more workers than leaders too. I've been to places where only one person was working and it doesn't work, right? You need more worker bees than you do leaders. You go to a cross-country meet. There's a lot of people working. There's people who have mapped the course. There's people who are watching the course. There's people running the concession stand. There's people eating the scores. tallying up things. There's people getting the medals together. If only one person was there doing it, it couldn't get done. You have to have more workers than leaders for a society to function. What if we had, what are there, maybe 25, 30 teachers? Or is there 50 teachers in a junior high? What if they all were principal? Nothing would ever get done, right? We have to work and we have to follow what our leader says.
I like that idea.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know. I was the boss one time when I worked for the state of Missouri. Boss isn't always fun. It's tough.
No, I mean we have to have like 3 teachers so we don't have to do work.
But then you would grow up dumb and people would take advantage of you.
I'm already dumb.
You are not dumb. I refuse to let anyone in my class grow up to be dumb.
I'm dumb, but I'm smart.
Okay?
Yeah.
So another characteristic of Sumer, and probably one of the reasons they might not have lasted as long as we thought they could have, is because they developed in what we call city-states. And this was one of our vocabulary words, if you remember, right? Help me out, Miriam. You were gone, no. Hey, Miriam, let's use context clues. You ready?
Okay.
City, state. It's a city that's also its own.
Stay.
You are a genius. Yes, right? It's a city, but it's kind of its own country as well. The problem with Sumer is that it had, a city-state here who had its own king and its own ideas, a city-state here that had its own king and its own ideas, and had some there, and this one had really good land. So what did these two do to that one?
They attacked them.
They attacked it, yes. So they didn't really stick together, did they? The people in this area stuck together, and the people in this area, but as a whole empire, they did not stick together. So they were weak.
Great.
Yeah, which led for other civilizations that are forming to the north and other areas to come in and attack this one, and these two won't help.
Yeah.
So once they attack that one, what are they going to do?
They're going to attack the others.
Oh, and then there's no one left to help this one.
Wow.
And so Sumer crashes. Okay. Yeah. Not on the test, I just think it's kind of interesting. When Sumer develops, each of it's the city-states, they usually have, they'll have like most of their important individuals or people who are higher on the social class, the king up in an area high on a hill with a wall around it. And inside that wall, they'll have like houses and things. And in America, here's the road. And you know how your door faces the road, so everybody can see how pretty your house is.
Yeah.
In ancient Sumer, the doors are going to be away from the roads. So they have this courtyard so kids can play, and it makes sense, doesn't it? No, just like protection. When I tell your kid go out and play, they're not playing in the road. But not that there's no cars at the time, and they're not even riding horses yet. But it keeps the kids out of the business and the other things that are going on. Of course, we all know they don't have electric, right? They're relying on oil lamps and different things at night if they want to go out when there's no sun. Okay, Sumer. The Sumerians were polytheistic. Oh, again, we know what this is, don't we? Jaden, Jaylin, or Jaden? Jaylin, Jaden, Jaylin, Jaden. Sorry, okay.
Like when you believe in like a bunch of gods.
Yes, many gods, right? So they have a god for rain, and a god for sun, and a god for the moon. Oh, to me that would be exhausting. But I wouldn't, like I said, I would never knock anyone's religion.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's what I believe.
So, religion, remember, they don't understand science yet. So everything they do is kind of based in religion and making their gods happy. And one thing that they decide to do is to build these temples that look like this.
Looks like a cake.
Yeah, it does look like a cake, doesn't it?
It's a temple.
So it's not the pyramids that we see in Egypt, because they're going to have a different purpose. Why do you think they built their temples to the gods like this, Miriam?
So there was like a level for
Oh, that's such a good thought. I'm not right, but it's such a good thought, right? It is a neat idea. Stairways to the heavens. So the gods could descend down if they chose, okay? They could get closer to heaven. So it's the stairway to heaven. So their king, they believe, is a god that has taken the human form. Okay? I always argue when I taught American history, I would always argue, how do you prove that you're a god and you're a human? If we cut our hand, do we not bleed the same color? How do you prove that you're a god?
You fly.
You fly.
If they had like certain possessions, they just be like,
Yeah. Ooh. Yes. So these temples were called ziggurats.
ziggurats.
And they were, and they were like, no, they were not cigarettes. That comes way, way later. No.
That's like way.
Yeah, Carlos.
So far later.
I know how to do that. Do it. I'm a god. Execute this one person. They execute him. See, I just made him dead.
I know, but the human did it. The human did it.
Bruh. Like the people were scared because they actually thought they were a god. That's why they didn't mess with
That
them.
exactly, Ashlyn, exactly. They were afraid if they angered the king, they were angering a god and something bad would happen to them.
How do you just become the king? What you gotta do, like kill someone?
You have to convince someone that you have descended from the heavens and the gods.
Look, I gave
Or the gods have favored you so much that they have made you half of them.
Wow, that would be awesome.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah, give me soul. Yeah, here you go.
No, what if it was like night and you climbed up to the top of that and then in the morning?
You better not get caught climbing to the top of that if you are a peasant or a craftsman or something, because you're not allowed up there.
What happens if
Only
you
the high priests and the kings.
What if you do go up there?
You'll probably kill you
Wow.
if you're caught.
No.
But you don't want to do it,
They have
Maya.
things
You don't
nice.
want to do it because you don't want to anger the gods.
What's
No, but
that?
at night.
Remember, number one, not everybody's educated, right? Especially not the girls, right?
Yeah.
Still
And
hurt.
two, their education wasn't like our education, right? Their education was all about learning about the gods and how to make the gods happy and
How to gather
Uh-huh.
Fruits.
It was funny.
Whenever you watch El Dorado, though, the girls are educated and the guys are stupid.
cartoon, right? But the idea comes from history of El Dorado. They just mess with it a little. All right. The Sumerians, you're going to see, they believe in an afterlife, and they'll often bury their high priests and their kings with tools and food, just in case, they should need it. Later on in the year, we do a little thing on art, and I talk about the pictures. Look at the sculptures. I mean, I shouldn't make fun of them because it's much better than anything I could ever do. But they just haven't quite got it down yet, do they?
Nope.
As advanced as they are for their time, they still look like aliens. They didn't really look like that, and we know that because from the other writings and other things that have been carved, but their statues look like, you watch that Ancient Aliens and they're like, look at this old statue, aliens must have come down to this civilization. They just haven't figured it all out.
Look at that
yet.
nose.
It's like a breathing mask.
But the people that were just like, oh my gosh, that's the best thing I've ever seen.
Yes. Look at the art.
He looks
Art
like
is
a
subjective, Ashlyn, right? I'm sure they thought it was beautiful. I know.
Look, it's art.
A friend of mine and I went to a museum in Ohio a couple summers ago, and we walked in, and literally there was this big canvas, and it was red. And I look at it, and she's like, "Oh, isn't it great?" I said, "It's red." She goes, "I think it represents anger and frustration." I'm like, "It's a painted canvas that's red, right?" So she thought she was classier than me. I'm okay with that. Okay, so obviously today we learned all about Sumer, right? So what I want you to do with your time left is write me a paragraph describing Sumer, okay? Sumer is an ancient civilization of the Fertile Crescent, located in Mesopotamia, which is the land between the rivers. They had, maybe you're going to say they have a bureaucracy and an infrastructure. Their social class looks like a pyramid with the king on top and slaves on bottom. They built high ziggurats that were stairways to the heavens. They developed in city-states and
What's the
were
government called again?
polytheistic. Bureaucracy.
Wait, is that the pyramid thing?
No, that's
No, bureaucracy is just a fancy name for government. So you could say the king was the leader of their bureaucracy, if you want to use bureaucracy in your Oh man, I definitely want to go fly. I have homework. Homework fly.
I don't want to sleep.